overall sentiment about the Jaguars? You mentioned the 1 seed.
1 seed. If you don't win your division and you're not a top 2 seed or gunning for that bye, based off the strength of schedule, you should be the 1 seed this year. And overall sentiment, I still have a question mark because I don't know how good Calvin Ridley's going to be right away coming back. And I would say if Calvin Ridley doesn't pan out, that would be a huge red flag for me. But overall, Super Bowl contender this year. And then the goal is to make the Super Bowl this year and take that next step.
Yeah, I would have to agree. So we'll go through all 17 games. You'll make your predictions, and we're going to keep the continuity together as we make our schedule. So we start with week 1, Sunday, 1 o'clock game against the Colts.
1 o'clock game versus the Colts. Yeah, that's a good opening win for them. I think that's a blowout because I don't know if Anthony Richardson is going to be starting or if they're going to go with another quarterback just to kind of ease him into the season. But I feel new head coach, new quarterback. Jags have more continuity, and that's really what matters, especially offensive continuity in the first 4 weeks of the season. So I'll have it as an easy dub in week 1.
And then week 2, bit of a stiffer competition. Another 1 o'clock game to start. They have them facing off in a divisional round rematch against the Chiefs.
A divisional round rematch against the Chiefs. What time was it?
1 o'clock. But
Um,
it is at home.
It's at home. I think they win this one because the Chiefs have been a little bit shaky to start the year. They kind of been starting the season a little similar to the Patriots, and they've been getting in a lot of shootouts. The Chiefs defense, again, isn't the same at the beginning of the year. And then you also lost Juju, who was a key piece at wide receiver. And I don't think it's a huge deal, but to start the season, you're going to be finding yourself a little bit on offense. And I think what the Chiefs have shown is that they'll go ahead and lose to the Bengals and the Bills in the regular season, and now they beat them in the playoffs last year. So I think that's another win, and then that's a statement game to really start off the year hot, and I think they start out the year similar to what the Eagles did last year.
Well, that is insinuated again when we go to week 3, again at home against the Houston Texans.
Yeah, you better win that game. That's a you better win that game, or we're in a lot of trouble this year. So gonna go at home versus the Texans. Yeah, that's a win.
And then back-to-back London games, starting with week 4 against the Atlanta Falcons. They face off in Wimbledon
Okay.
against the Falcons.
Against the Falcons. The Jags just don't lose overseas. Like it's a weird thing. Like no matter how bad the Jags are, you go over to London. For some reason, some franchises hate it. Some franchises love it. They're undefeated overseas, so I'm gonna have to roll with that.
Well, we'll keep that same energy because back-to-back London games.
Back to back.
Yep.
So they're staying in England, basically.
Staying in England for 2 weeks. And week 5, they face the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, again, I don't care. They're in England. Last time I picked the Buffalo Bills to lose them, and I to them last week. So I'm gonna go ahead, pick the Jags to win. They can't lose overseas, and I'm not gonna pick them to lose until I see it. I'll see it when I believe it.
And then after back-to-back Sundays, they come back on a short week and face the New Orleans Saints on primetime Thursday Night Football.
Thursday Night Football. I think that's tough. I think it's tough to come back from 2 weeks overseas and then play on Thursday night. And I think I could see them losing that game to New Orleans just because you have Derek Carr now, some stability. So I'm going to actually go with them to lose for their first loss on Thursday night.
That's fair. That's kind of where I was going with that too. And then we face the Colts next round there.
On the road or at home?
This is at home. The
This is
Colts were
at home.
Yeah, they were away week 1.
They're away week 1. Yeah, I'm going to go with them to sweep the Colts this year. I think Anthony Richardson's going to be really good. However, I think it's going to take some time for him to really settle down. Probably see him start to get really good by week 13 to 14. So again, I have them beating the Colts.
I see the vision there. Yeah, I think with Anthony Richardson, it's gonna have a Josh Allen incident where I feel like the first year he's gonna show flashes, but it doesn't necessarily bring him over the top quite yet.
Okay.
Last week before the bye, they faced the Steelers at 1 o'clock, and this is at Pittsburgh.
At Pittsburgh, They should beat Pittsburgh. I feel like Pittsburgh's been really solid the past few years, but their defense is going to be really good. I think it'll be a battle, but I think the Jags just have more firepower. And I think they do have a little bit of advantage with the coaching matchup. And then they've kind of had a soft schedule, kind of on a roll so far. So, going to go take a W into the bye.
And then they come back from that bye and they are at home again against the 49ers.
Ooh, who's the Niners quarterback, though? That's the real question. But the Niners also have these games where they just go on the road and get blown out. You say it was at 1?
It is at 1:00.
Yeah, West Coast team on the road at 1:00. Not really sure who the quarterback is then, so it's going to be a question mark for me. But I think the Jaguars go ahead and get that done, especially out of a bye. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, Doug Peterson versus Kyle Shanahan.
Good matchup.
And then they stay at home and they face the Tennessee Titans, first of 2 matchups.
I mean, they're going to win. And again, this will be the Commanders. I don't have to tell you why. They're just going to win.
I see the vision. And then this is at Houston, Sunday after Thanksgiving. And they are also playing at 1:00. A lot of 1:00 games for the Jags this year.
I'm gonna go with them to lose because they do usually split with the Texans. This is gonna be one of those weird divisional games, especially on the road. I think the Texans will kind of have found their mojo. This will be a huge moral boost for them. And then we're 8-1 right now, so we have to throw a loss in there, especially to a divisional opponent. And I don't see the Colts or the Titans beating them, but I could see the Texans sneaking one off them this year.
Yeah. And then their schedule gets a little bit tough the next stretch of games here. They are Monday Night Football, week 13 against the Cincinnati Bengals.
Against the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm going to go with the Bengals to win that one. I think Joe Burrow and the Bengals have a lot of continuity. And then I like Joe Burrow in primetime a lot more than Trevor Lawrence so far. While Trevor Lawrence showed up in that playoff game, he did show the potential for absolute disaster and chaos. And I think now that we're into week 13, that's really when the Bengals start to turn it on. This is when they're going to be finding their mojo. And I think this game will be like, almost said what Bengals and Bills was like last year on Monday Night Football. Hopefully not. What Bengals and Bills was in the playoff game, where the Bengals kind of humbled them a little bit there.
And then back on the road, week 14 against the Browns.
I think you go ahead and beat the Browns coming off a tough loss. Don't think this team's going to have too many back-to-back losses, and I think you'll be able to go on the road and beat the Browns. I'm just not sure what Deshaun Watson's going to be like that. So until I see Deshaun Watson play better than he did last year, I'm going to have to go with the Jags.
And then last of their tough stretch of games, week 15, at home against the Ravens.
At home against the Ravens.
On Sunday Night Football.
That's tough. But I think you go ahead and beat the Ravens. You're at home. I don't think you were as good as you could have been last year, and you still won that game. You had an epic comeback versus the Ravens, and I feel like with Calvin Ridley, there's going to be a lot more firepower. This is going to be one of those statement wins where we saw them lose to Cincinnati, so we're not too sure about them. And then we've seen them maybe lose to the Texans, some other teams they shouldn't have. Go out there at home on primetime, beat the Ravens.
And then they end the schedule on a couple of layups here. They start week 16, 4:00 game at Tampa Bay.
Yeah, that's an easy win.
Should be an easy one.
Should be an easy win.
And then New Year's Eve, 1:00 game. Again, they face the Carolina Panthers at home.
Yeah, that's another win.
As it should be. And then we end the last game of the season. At this point, they are what? 14-2?
They are 13-3.
13-3, and they are at Tennessee to end it.
At Tennessee, yeah, that's another win. Unless they're resting their starters because they locked up the 1 seed. But so I see them finishing 14-3, same record as I had the Dolphins. But I think that gives you a really good shot. And I feel like with this schedule, there's not too many tough games. And I feel like some of the tougher games is going to be Cincinnati on Monday Night Football. And then that Browns game, it's on the road. And I picked them to win, but that's a game I have a tough time just picking them automatically. And then I don't know what the 49ers quarterback situation is going to be. So I could see
Yeah.
some more losses in there, but I have them between the 12 to 14 win range. I feel like
Yeah.
you have to finish within there.